Your gas tank is draining faster than your bank account, and the gas station is counting on you not to know why. Here's something nobody at the pump is going to tell you. The average driver is losing over $1,200 a year, not because gas is expensive, but because of tiny invisible habits happening every single time you drive. Gas stations are billion-dollar businesses for a reason. They profit from your routine, they profit from what you don't know, and today, that ends. I've put together 17 strategies that the fuel industry would genuinely prefer stayed hidden. Some of these are counterintuitive, some are embarrassingly simple, and one of them, tip number 12, can save you between $10 and $40 in a single fill-up without changing anything about where you buy your gas. Stick with me to the end, because these stack on top of each other. The more you apply, the more you save. Let's get into it. And before we go any further, if you're new here, subscribe right now. Every week we cover practical money-saving tips for everyday life. You don't want to miss what's coming after this video. Number 17, fill up early morning or late at night, not during the heat of the day. Most people never think about this, but gasoline is a liquid, and liquids expand when they're warm and contract when they're cold. Gas stations store their fuel in underground tanks, and while those tanks are somewhat insulated, the fuel temperature still fluctuates throughout the day based on ambient conditions. When you pump gas during peak afternoon heat, the fuel that flows into your tank is slightly expanded. You're paying for volume, but you're getting less actual energy content per gallon. When you fill up in the early morning or late at night, the fuel is denser, more compact, and delivers more combustion energy per unit. Now, in modern gas stations, with well-insulated underground storage, the effect is smaller than it used to be, but it still exists, and over dozens of fill-ups per year, it absolutely adds up. This one costs you nothing to implement. Just shift your habit by a few hours. Number 16, the moment you hear that first click, stop. This is a habit so many drivers have, and it's actively working against them. When the automatic shutoff on the nozzle triggers that first click, that's not a suggestion. That's the system telling you the tank is full and it's time to stop. When you try to squeeze in a few more dollars to round up to an even number, a couple of things happen. First, the excess fuel often gets drawn into the vapor recovery system. That's the system designed to capture fuel vapors from escaping into the atmosphere. So the extra fuel you thought you were adding, it doesn't even make it into your tank. It gets captured and recycled back into the station's supply. Second, and this is the part that should really concern you, overfilling can damage your car's EVAP system, which is the evaporative emission control system. Repairs on the system can run anywhere from $150 to over $600 depending on the vehicle. You're literally paying extra money to potentially cause yourself an expensive repair. Click, done, and leave. Number 15, use the slowest flow setting on the pump. Most fuel nozzles have multiple flow speeds. You control this by how far you squeeze the handle, and some have preset notches. The fastest setting feels efficient, but it's actually costing you. When fuel flows at high speed into your tank, it creates turbulence. Turbulence causes vaporization. Those fuel vapors, instead of going into your tank as liquid, get sucked right back out through the vapor recovery system at the pump. You're paying for vapor that immediately leaves. Pumping slowly keeps the fuel in liquid form as it enters your tank, which means more of what you pay for actually stays in the vehicle and gets used. This one small habit, practiced consistently, makes a measurable difference over months and years. Number 14, stop warming up your car by letting it idle. This one is rooted in old school thinking from the era of carbureted engines. Back then, you genuinely needed to let the engine run for a few minutes before driving because carburetors needed time to stabilize fuel delivery in cold temperatures. That era is over. Every car built since the mid-1980s uses electronic fuel injection, and modern systems are controlled by sophisticated engine management computers. These systems adjust the fuel mixture, timing, and idle speed automatically within seconds of startup. Your car reaches optimal operating temperature faster by driving gently than by sitting still. Every minute you idle in your driveway is a minute of fuel burned with zero forward progress. In cold weather, some light warm-up is acceptable. A minute, maybe two, but 5 or 10 minutes? That's pure waste. Start the engine, give it 30 to 60 seconds, then drive smoothly and easy for the first mile or two. Done. Number 13, stop paying for premium fuel. If your car doesn't need it. This is one of the most expensive myths in the automotive world. Walk into any comment section about cars and you'll find people swearing that premium fuel makes their engine run better, last longer, or produce more power, even when their manufacturer doesn't require it. Here's the truth. Premium fuel has a higher octane rating, which means it resists pre-ignition under high compression. High-performance engines with high compression ratios need that resistance. Regular engines don't. If your owner's manual says regular fuel recommended, then that is precisely the fuel your engine is tuned for. The computer controlling your engine is calibrated for regular octane. Using premium in a regular engine produces no measurable power increase, no improved efficiency, and no longevity benefit. You are simply paying 20 to 40 cents more per gallon for absolutely nothing. Now, if your manual says premium is required, that's different. Don't cheap out. Use what the manufacturer specifies. But if it says recommended or just lists regular as the standard, save your money. Number 12, and this is the one that adds up faster than almost anything else, clear out the dead weight. Your engine doesn't know or care what's in your trunk. It just knows how heavy the vehicle is. And the heavier the vehicle, the harder the engine has to work, the more fuel it burns per mile. Here's what happens in real life. People put things in their car temporarily and then forget about them. A set of tools from a project 3 months ago. Sports equipment your kid hasn't used since last season. An emergency kit that's turned into a general storage unit. Cases of water. Bags of things that were supposed to go to donation months ago. I've seen people doing fuel efficiency audits on their cars and discovering 80, 90, even over 100 pounds of stuff that serves no purpose being there on a daily basis. Physics doesn't negotiate. Every 100 pounds of extra weight reduces your fuel economy by roughly 1 to 2%. Doesn't sound like much. On a vehicle that gets 30 miles per gallon and drives 15,000 miles a year, that's 50 to 100 extra gallons annually. At $3, $50 a gallon, that's $175 to $350 a year, just from cargo you forgot was there. Go open your trunk after this video. You will be surprised. Number 11, take off that roof rack or cargo box when you're not using it. Roof racks and cargo carriers are incredibly useful when you need them. When you don't need them, they are aerodynamic anchors attached to the top of your car. Even an empty roof rack increases aerodynamic drag by 2 to 8% on average. A cargo box, even empty, can add 10 to 25% more drag depending on its size and your vehicle's shape. At highway speeds, aerodynamic drag is one of the biggest factors in fuel consumption. The math is uncomfortable. If you use your rooftop carrier for 2 ski trips per year and leave it on the rest of the time, you're paying a continuous fuel penalty for roughly 350 days a year to avoid a 20-minute install and removal job twice a year. Take it off, store it in the garage. Put it back on when you need it. Your fuel economy will thank you every single mile. Number 10, use cruise control on the highway. Every single time. Human beings are not precise throttle control instruments. We accelerate slightly, then back off, then slightly again. On a long highway drive, your speed might fluctuate between 65 and 72 miles per hour dozens of times without you even noticing. Every one of those accelerations costs extra fuel. Every unnecessary deceleration is energy you already burned that you're now throwing away. Cruise control eliminates this completely. It holds a precise, constant speed with minimal throttle variations, which is exactly the condition your drivetrain runs most efficiently. Studies have shown that consistent cruise control use on highway driving can improve fuel economy by 7 to 14% compared to manual throttle control. On a long road trip, this difference is absolutely significant. Make it a habit to set cruise control as soon as you're on a clear stretch of highway and the speed limit is consistent. Number 9, aggressive driving is essentially lighting cash on fire. This might be the single highest impact habit change on this entire list for drivers who commute in cities or suburbs. Hard acceleration from a stop, late braking, weaving through traffic, rapid speed changes, all of it sends your fuel consumption through the roof. When you floor the throttle, your engine goes into a rich fuel mixture mode, injecting far more fuel than it does during steady, moderate acceleration. When you brake hard, every bit of that kinetic energy, which was created by burning fuel, gets turned into heat and wasted. Anticipatory driving is the antidote. Look further down the road. If you see a red light ahead, take your foot off the gas early and coast. Let the car slow naturally before you need the brakes. When the light turns green, accelerate smoothly and progressively rather than treating every start like a drag race. Here's what's remarkable about this approach. Your travel time barely changes. Traffic is the bottleneck, not how fast you accelerate between lights. But your fuel economy can improve by 15 to 30% in city driving just from this one behavioral shift. Number 8, check your tire pressure. Once a month. Seriously. This is the maintenance item with the best effort to reward ratio in existence. It takes 5 minutes. It's usually free at gas stations or done at home with a $10 gauge, and it has a direct measurable impact on how much gas you burn. Underinflated tires increase rolling resistance, the friction between the tire and the road surface. Your engine has to work harder to overcome that resistance with every rotation of the wheel. The EPA estimates that for every 1 psi drop in pressure across all 4 tires, you lose about 0.2% fuel economy. That sounds tiny, but most people's tires are 5 to 8 psi low without them ever knowing. That adds up to a 1 to 1.5% penalty. Every mile, every day, silently. Find the correct pressure for your tires and your driver's door jam sticker, not on the tire sidewall. That's the maximum, not the recommended. Check it monthly, especially as temperatures change, because tire pressure drops about 1 psi for every 10 degree Fahrenheit drop in ambient temperature. Number 7. Replace your air filter before it becomes a problem. Your engine is essentially a giant air pump. It needs to mix air and fuel in precise ratios to combust efficiently. If the air filter is clogged with dust, debris, and particulates, and they all get clogged eventually, less air enters the engine. In older vehicles with carburetors, this caused a significantly richer fuel mixture and noticeable efficiency drops. In modern fuel-injected cars, the engine management system compensates automatically, but that compensation comes at the cost of efficiency. A severely clogged filter on a modern car can reduce fuel economy by 2 to 6%. The good news? A new air filter costs between $15 and $35 for most vehicles, and takes about 10 minutes to replace yourself. No tools required in most cases. Check your filter every 15,000 miles or once a year. Hold it up to a light. If you can't see light through it, it's time for a new one. Number 6. Turn off. Electrical accessories you're not actually using. This one catches people off guard because it feels disconnected from fuel economy, but every electrical system in your car draws power from the alternator, and the alternator is driven by the engine. More electrical load means more mechanical drag on the engine, which means more fuel burned. The heating elements in your seats, rear window defroster, high-powered audio systems, phone chargers drawing heavy current, all of it adds up to incremental fuel consumption. Individually, each item's impact is small. Collectively, running everything simultaneously can cost you a noticeable amount over time. This isn't about sitting in the dark with no music. It's about developing an awareness of what's on when it doesn't need to be. Heat defroster? Turn it off once the window's clear. Seat heaters? Use them when cold, not on autopilot all winter. Small habits, real savings. Number 5. Combine short trips into single journeys. Cold engine operation is brutally inefficient. When a gasoline engine starts from cold, it runs on an enriched fuel mixture, more fuel than it would normally use, until it reaches operating temperature, which typically takes 5 to 10 minutes of driving. If you make 3 separate short trips in a day, pharmacy, then back home, then grocery store, then back home again, you're cycling through that cold start inefficiency 3 times. Each of those cold starts uses excess fuel during the warm-up phase. Combine those errands into one loop. Leave the house once, hit all your stops in a logical sequence, return once. The total miles driven are roughly the same, but you only pay the cold start fuel penalty once. For people who make lots of short local trips, this restructuring alone can make a surprising dent in monthly fuel costs. Number 4. Washing your car. Every week won't lower your fuel bill. This one is on the list because it's a persistent myth, that a clean car is more aerodynamically efficient and therefore uses less fuel. While there is a kernel of physics truth, a cleaner surface does have marginally less drag than a truly filthy one, the practical difference in everyday driving is essentially zero. The real aerodynamic killer isn't road grime. It's the things you bolt onto the exterior of the car. Roof racks, cargo boxes, bike carriers, large spoilers that aren't factory tuned. Those create genuine, significant drag. If you're washing your car weekly as part of a fuel economy strategy, you're spending money on car wash products and time to gain nothing. Keep your car reasonably clean for appearance and rust prevention if you live where roads are salted, but don't confuse cleanliness with efficiency. Number 3, stop choosing fuel based on the price per gallon alone. This is a trap that catches intelligent, budget-conscious people all the time. You pull up to 2 stations, one is $3.29, the other is $3.49. You go to the cheaper one. Simple math, right? Not quite. Different fuel blends have different energy densities. Some lower-cost fuels contain higher percentages of ethanol. E15 or even E85 blends. Ethanol contains roughly 33% less energy per gallon than pure gasoline. So a tank of E15 might take you 2 to 3% fewer miles than an equivalent tank of E10. A tank of E85 might take you 25 to 30% fewer miles than straight gasoline. The correct metric is cost per mile, not cost per gallon. If you know your fuel economy on standard fuel and you're experimenting with alternative blends, do the math. How many miles does each tank get you? Divide the total tank cost by the miles. That's your real cost. Sometimes the price of your fuel is genuinely cheaper by that measure. Also be sure your vehicle is rated for whatever blend you're using. Running high ethanol content through an engine not designed for it can cause real long-term damage to fuel system components. Number 2, pay attention to the day of the week. You fill up. Fuel pricing isn't random, and it doesn't change only when crude oil prices shift. Gas stations adjust their retail prices based on anticipated demand, and demand is very predictably tied to the day of the week. Consumer behavior data consistently shows that Americans buy the most gas on Fridays and Saturdays as people fill up for weekend travel and activities. Gas stations know this and raise prices accordingly going into the weekend. Monday and Tuesday tend to show the lowest prices at the pump across most regions as demand dips after the weekend rush. This isn't universal. Local competition, regional supply logistics, and individual station pricing strategies all vary. But in general, if you have flexibility in when you fill up, earlier in the week tends to be better. Use a fuel price tracking app like Gas Buddy to monitor prices in your area and start to recognize patterns. Over a full year of strategic fill-ups, the savings are real. Number 1, use a cashback card for every single gas purchase. This is the multiplier that wraps around everything else on this list. You're going to buy gas regardless. You're going to spend that money no matter what. Why not get a percentage of it back every time? Several credit cards offer 3 to 5% cash back specifically on gas station purchases. Some offer flat 2% on everything. Some fuel station chains have loyalty programs that provide per gallon discounts. Stack a loyalty program with a cashback card and you're recovering meaningful money on every fill-up. A driver spending $200 per month on gas using a 4% cashback card gets $96 back over a year. That's nearly a free tank of gas every month for doing nothing differently except how you pay. The rule, and this is non-negotiable, is that you pay the full balance every month. Every month. If you carry a balance and pay interest, you've completely erased the benefit and you're actually losing money. If you don't trust yourself to pay it in full, skip this tip and use a debit card instead. There's no shame in that. The point is maximizing what you keep, not creating new debt. None of these 17 things require you to buy a new car. None of them require you to transform your lifestyle. There are adjustments, some behavioral, some mechanical, some financial, that quietly work in the background every time you drive. The average driver implementing even half of these consistently could realistically save $800 to $500 per year, not by doing anything dramatic. Just by stopping the slow, invisible leak that most people never notice until they look back and wonder where all their money went. If this was useful to you, hit subscribe right now. We publish smart, practical guides like this every week, covering everything from car ownership to everyday personal finance. There's a video on screen right now that goes even deeper into this topic. Click it. I'll see you there.